Earlier today, Hirsch, one of my coaching clients was excited and asked me to identify her prospect's personality style, or what I call the buying style. And I was happy to do that. But the reason I'm sharing that with you is because of the story behind his booking. Earlier this week, she posted the most beautiful pictures of herself on a delayed honeymoon, 2.5 years delayed. But the story, besides the pictures, told of the hardship and heartbreak that she experienced. And it was very raw, very real, very bold, very forward, very personal. And my point today, because we're talking about earning wealth respect, humor, and humanity, is this is an example of humanity. And someone read that post, an acquaintance, not someone she knew terribly well, but someone for whom, he at least knew of her, maybe didn't even know what she did for a living. And he booked in a session, and I am sure, because she's meeting with him now, that he will become a client.
Wow. Um, yeah, the part of, first of all, a quick recap on what wealth respect and this talk that we're going to both be on the 31st, earning your wealth respect with humor and humanity. The wealth respect, which sounds like self-respect, is having a real appreciation of your value, and
Mhm.
then marrying that with the value that the marketplace maybe has for the services you provide. And, maybe your value is higher, and maybe your appreciation is going to really help bring those fees up to where they need to be. Now, when we say humor and humanity, that's so important because for the humor part, we can't take all of this too seriously. It's to the world's a little too crazy for us to take things seriously and not be able to dilute the pressures and the realities with some humor. And then the humanity part is, again, as you beautifully pointed out, so important because not only does it connect us to one another
Mhm.
and make the person uh, that we're selling the truth to, you know, more receptive, but it also distinguishes us. Everyone says, "Oh, you know what? Is my message getting heard? Is my message rising above the din? Is my message transcending the marketplace?" Well, the more human you are and the more real you are, the more it will transcend the marketplace.
Yeah, Hirsch, earlier today, as you know, one of the things I do for my clients is that I look up personality styles primarily by going to LinkedIn, or sometimes in this case, Facebook, websites, and so forth. And I earlier today looked up a profile, and I was very sad as I looked at it, because this is a very successful individual, at least based upon, all the credits of which companies he's worked with and the things he's done. And I looked at his website, and he's got a robust team. So he's built up a nice business over time. But Hirsch, it was scrambled. It didn't communicate clearly his value, even though he had nouns that said, I'm whatever, like an accountant or a speaker or,
Right.
whatever. Nouns are not enough to communicate our value. And hence,
Yeah.
when we're earning wealth respect, it has to go beyond a list of words.
Right. Yeah. I'm making a note
I
because
know I stirred up some ideas in you,
you
didn't
stirred
I?
up something, because you know how I love wordplay, and it was um, and it just hit me. I was like, oh, that's nonsense. Like it's
Nonsense,
like it's and
lovely.
maybe that's going to be a topic for our conversation. But avoid the nonsense is to say that you know sometimes we have an embarrassment of riches in the sense that
Mhm.
we have a lot of titles, we have a lot of credits, we have, we have earned a lot of many degrees, you know, and people think that by piling these things on one on top of the other, they're going to make themselves more impressive or stand out. And granted, having 16 degrees may stand out from people who have two or three or one or none, but it doesn't convey anything about how you're going to relate to the person you're wanting to connect with.
Yeah, it's about benefits. I gave a presentation earlier this week, Speak to Your Right Client. And again, I was reviewing people's LinkedIn profiles to see whether they spoke to their ideal client, dream client. And I'll be candid with you, most every one of those profiles, again, was nonsense, noun sense. It was packed with stuff that, as the reader, it didn't connect with me because
Yeah.
everybody's listening to WIIFM, what's in it for me. And when they listen to WIIFM, they're not looking for entertainment. They actually are looking for benefits. They're looking for how can you make me better? How can you transform me? Because to me, that's what it's all about today is transformation.
That's interesting because, well, first of all, I love WIIFM. I haven't heard you say that before, but I've heard you say WIIFM as an anagram, but I haven't heard you use it like a radio station, which I love. Um, but the other thing is that someone that I was just talking to referred to the word transformation and said, because we were going through my program and it's holistic brand transformation. They wanted to understand it better, and we were talking about transformation, and he said, "Oh, I wish there was a word other than transformation. It sounds so radical." And another person, and he said, "But I guess there's no other way of saying, what other word are you going to use that's going to actually say what needs to be done?" And it had a lot to do with recognition that the work needed to be done.
Yeah.
There was another person that I communicated with who expressed a certain trepidation about transformation. So completely different people, different situations, but was saying, I don't know that I am ready to change all these things about my business and my brand. I don't know if I'm ready to make all these changes, and yet had expressed a need to change something, or we wouldn't even be talking. If there's no need, if someone doesn't start out with a need, there's no need to have a conversation because there's no need.
You know what came to my mind as you were sharing that example is that, especially those people who you help so well, it isn't necessarily, it's not a change. What you're doing, Hirsch, is you're looking at their wealth of experience, and I'm using wealth deliberately,
Mhm.
using their wealth of experience, all the various things that are true about who they are and what they've done and what they bring to their clients. And you're finding the golden nuggets, the sparkly diamonds, which actually they don't see.
Yeah.
And they don't see it because they're too close to what it is they do. And again, noun sense, they're busy piling up the activities, the nouns,
Yeah.
and not finding that the kernel, the nuggets that you so aptly find.
Thank you. Well, so that brings us to what can they do about it? What can we do when we find ourselves? Obviously, perspective. You get the opinion of people who have better perspective, different perspective. You know, I told this one person who was a little reluctant about the word transformation. I said, and he did express that he and his business partner were having a challenge with their own branding. And I
Mhm.
said, and I said, and he's like, how do we make this stand out? How do we do this? And I said, it's not a deficiency in you and your partner,
Mhm.
because I bet if you have a colleague who does something similar to you and they're asking you how they can improve their branding, you would be able to tell them because you would be able to see from a
Mhm.
distance
Mhm.
who they are, what they're doing right and wrong. And I think that made him feel a little bit better because people get frustrated. But the question is, what can they do to break through
Well, you
that
just said
reluctance?
the most important word, that distance. You see, when we are close to ourselves, and we all are, and I think I've heard you say we can't read the label inside the bottle, right? Or
Well,
the
that's I
label
haven't
is
said that,
upside
but that's
down.
that's good. That's one way. I say we don't cut our hair because we can't see the back of our own head. That's
There
my
you go.
analogy.
Nor, by the way, can we ever genuinely look into our own eyes. I mean, we look into a mirror. And so that's my point. We need something outside us. And hence, for some of us, honestly, that's choosing a coach. I mean, I'm always working with one or more coaches because they are able to see the things and bring to my attention what is obvious to them and
Yeah.
just totally unobvious to me. But we need an outsider. And again, something interesting, a couple weeks ago I saw a post in one of my groups, and a woman was looking for an accountability partner. Now, I know you can pay for an accountability coach, but I offered and threw my hat into the ring
Yeah.
to be one of those people. Well, it wasn't her, but a different woman said, could you help me? So we started, and sure enough, and this is the reason why buddies don't work. The first week, she was pretty good about it. The
Yeah.
second week, it fell away. And even though I continued to send my accountability to her because we were exchanging, I got nothing back. And that is why you need an outsider. I hate to say it, but we do need to pay for somebody to be objective and help us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
No,
somebody, when I
it's
use the word objective, I want to put a caveat. Objective who cares? Because there are too
right.
many people that I have hired who were outside me, but honestly, they were mercenary. Their interest was as far as my wallet went.
Right. Yeah, and that's a good point to close on, which is that uh, the caring, the humanity, all of those things are for us anyway, and for a lot of the people that we work with and that we serve, uh, the indispensable ingredient. It doesn't work without it.
Yeah.
And I've had clients who kind of almost present as though they're dispassionate, but they're really not. They really do care. They really do have a soft center. They may be protecting it, but they have it. And I don't need them to, it's not a performative thing that I need. It's just they're, the fact that they have that is something that I can now spot. And it puts me at ease to know that it's there.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not a weakness. It is something we have to harness and regulate.
Right. Right. Well, we are going to end at this moment, but we want to invite you, if you're listening before July 31, 2025, to the presentation, Earning Your Wealth Respect with Humor and Humanity. What time is that?
It's at 1 p.m. Eastern
Okay.
next
Tune in,
Thursday.
right? Or again, I'm sure there will be a replay for at least a limited period of
Yeah.
time. Okay. To your sales and messaging success. This is Dr. Nancy Zaire, the Sales with Soul.
And Hirsch Repun, brand transformer, wishing
Amen.
you wishing you success, happiness. We've tried to we have an outro that we're going to do, that we're going to put on,
Yeah.
but I never can offer like any specific thing, because I think we're all, people are watching these videos at all times, and it's not always their weekend. So if I say have a wonderful weekend, they may not get to it till the weekend. I just say sell the truth. with humor and humanity, and the best will come of that.